Morning, Purdue University. Welcome to Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Geely. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today on this Friday. So I appreciate that. Let's get into my starting 5 picks for the weekend in college football. I'm taking Auburn over LSU. I'm also going to take Texas over Oklahoma. There's a 9-point spread on that game. I think Texas loses within 9 or...
Texas up a point on 12th-ranked Oklahoma. Here's Mayfield. Heisman hopeful. Wide open, incomplete. Mark Andrews. Baker Mayfield does it. 59 yards to Andrews. Bowler, and he dialed one up. He said, let's look for the big target. Streaking down the outside. Mark Andrews, 59-yard touchdown.
I'm also going to take West Virginia over Texas Tech.
Now Greer has another chance in the end zone. A touchdown for Sills, his 3rd of the day, as the nation's best finds pay dirt once again.
I'm going to take UT San Antonio, that's right, UTSA, over North Texas.
Here comes pressure. Vine got hit, throws it in, it's caught. Wasi Jr. has space to the 10-yard line, and he's going to take it into the end zone. North Texas scores with 10 seconds left to take the lead.
I'm not going to pick against Purdue. Good morning, Purdue University and listeners around the country. Welcome to Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Geely. Thank you to the Brainy Bunch for that audio to open up the show. Not my best week of picks, but got a couple W's in there thanks to Texas covering the spread. They almost beat them outright. And also West Virginia. Those are two of my 2 wins of the week. Lost a heartbreaker with LSU. Lost a heartbreaker with North Texas over UTSA. And that's how it goes. I'll give you guys my starting 5 picks for this weekend in college football later on in the show. Also have a lot to dive into today. If you want to contact the show, you can at nextptwins@gmail.com. There you will find an opportunity to ask me any questions, or if you'd like to call into the show, go to my show Gmail and send me an email, and I'll respond throughout the show with the number to call in. You can also tweet at me. You can DM me or just tweet at me, Matt_Geely, Gigli. For anybody who wants to also get their name heard throughout the show, you can send it to me there, and I will respond with the number to call in. Haven't tested out the phone line yet, so if anybody does want to call in today, it will be a dry run. Hopefully we can get it to work. Didn't have time this week to come down here and take a look at it. So it's not extremely important. If you guys just want to listen this week, I'm cool with that. But if somebody wants to call in and ask a question or have a conversation, go for it. Exciting Friday here this week. Fall's in the air and a lot of football to dive into. We also had NBA season starting up this week, so we'll talk about some of the bigger storylines already in week 1 of the NBA season. We can also dive into NFL last weekend, a couple big injuries, a couple big games, and the slate this weekend looks equally as intriguing. So we'll wrap all that up. And if you guys missed the Thursday night game last night, normally that's not a bad thing because history shows that these Thursday night games aren't good quality. But last night was, I would almost say, guaranteed the best Thursday night game we've had, and really one of the crazier endings to a football game we've had in the NFL in a long time. If you missed it, the Raiders came back at home to beat the Chiefs 31-30. But there was a lot that happened in that game, and I got some opinions, and we can discuss it. I caught it live. I kind of had it. I had 2 screens going, and I was watching that, and then I was watching Chicago Fire, one of my favorite shows on TV, as well as I was flipping around between the college football game. Memphis was on, and Blackhawks were playing as well. So I was kind of channel surfing, but I had TV on the NFL game, and it was so good it made me stop and turn up the volume on the NFL game because I wanted to see this last drive. Kansas City had the ball twice and were unable to get first downs to extend the game. So they gave the ball back to the Raiders with just about a minute and a half to go in the game after a really bad punt. He shanked it. It only went about 10 yards. So Raiders got the ball back with about 60 yards, needing to drive to score, down 6. So they needed a touchdown, and the game looked to be over multiple times. And I thought the referees did a great job on a lot of the calls. There's one call I didn't agree with. Basically, it got down to Oakland needing to they were on about the 15-yard line, and they needed to take some shots to the end zone if you missed the game. And they ran like this. It was 2 guys on the left, and they were stacked almost, and they ran it 3 times in a row. And Kansas City didn't change their coverage any of the 3 times, but basically it was 2 guys in the area of the ball. I think my idea of the concept was if there's a tip ball, I got another player there who can grab it, because the chances of you going up 1 on 2 or 3 and catching it without tipping it. I mean, all the time we see defenders tip the ball and it falls to the ground. Well, if you have another one of your teammates there, maybe he can get on the ball. Well, instead, like 2 defenders went to one wide receiver and they left the other guy wide open, and Cooper caught it and kind of stumbled onto his back, and they ruled it a touchdown in the field, but I knew immediately he was down at the 1-yard line. This was with 18 seconds to go in the game. So after review, they called him down at the 1, and since he was inbounds, the rule is a 10-second runoff. And if you're a Detroit Lion fan, you know that rule really well, because that cost you a game early in the year against Atlanta. So they ran off 10 seconds, so there's 8 seconds left in the game. Ball was put on like the half-yard line, and no timeouts. And then Oakland ran a pass play to the right to Crabtree, and he blatantly pushed off, caught it for a touchdown. They flagged him, offensive pass interference, moved it back, 1 untimed down. And next play, he threw it to the end zone, and it looked to be an incomplete pass, game over, but they called defensive holding, and that's the penalty I did not agree with. They called holding on Kansas City. It was within 5 yards. He did get both hands on the shoulder pads, but for less than a second, he didn't even get a chance to grab, and then he actually kind of got pushed off and stumbled away. Well, the ball was thrown out of bounds, so they accepted the penalty. Oakland did, moved it 5 yards closer, and it was they ran it again, and same thing happened, holding. So 3 times there was untimed downs, half the distance to the goal. Oakland gets another chance, and they roll Derek Carr out to the left, and he found Cooper in the left side of the end zone for a touchdown to end the game on the untimed down. And then they made the extra point, which was super close. It barely snuck in the right side. I'm pretty sure it went wide after it crossed the goalpost. That's how close it was. And I mean, that would have been even more crazy if you would have missed the extra point. We would have went to OT. But Raiders get the win. It was a desperate win they needed. That's 2 straight losses for the Chiefs. I still think that they're one of the better teams in the NFL. Probably top 2 or 3 in the AFC for sure. Top 5 in the NFL altogether. You have to think that with Pittsburgh and the Chiefs and the Patriots, those are the 3 teams to beat in the AFC. And then on the other side, it's kind of a crapshoot right now on who really wants to take the lead as far as top team on the NFC side. It was a game Oakland needed at home. It moves them to 3-4, keeps them somewhat relevant in the race in their division. They need Kansas City to lose more, but you can't start 2-5 and expect to. I mean, it was either win or they're almost out of it. I mean, 5 losses is a lot to expect from Kansas City, and to run the table if you're Oakland would have been a lot. But at 3-4, you stay somewhat competitive. You're not out of it yet. You got to keep getting quality wins, and this one at home was very important. It was kind of cool to see Derek Carr. He had a great game, and coming off of breaking his back, I mean, it's pretty amazing he's able to come back and be as effective as he has been. So that was the game last night. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Thursday night games have kind of stepped up their level of competition. You can still tell that it's a short week for these players. It's really sloppy. We especially have been seeing on the offensive side, except for last night it was the defensive side that looked sloppy for both teams. Kansas City is one of the better defenses in the league, and on that last drive, they couldn't get any pressure on Derek Carr. He had all day, and he was still missing guys because he had happy feet a lot of the time in the pocket on that last drive. I think he was just trying to get the ball up before he got sacked, obviously. But he really did have all day because Kansas City had no pass rush. They were only rushing 3 or 4 at a time, which I get it. They weren't dialing up any blitzes or anything. But you got to at least cause a little bit of havoc, because if you just let them sit back there, anybody in the NFL, they're going to pick you apart eventually. It's hard to cover guys for more than 3-4 seconds. Once you get into that 5-6 second range of a quarterback in the pocket, there's a good chance somebody's going to get open, and Derek Carr's going to find him. So Oakland gets the win last night. Also on last night, Dodgers eliminate the Cubs 3-1 in that series. Enrique Hernandez is the hero for the Dodgers last night. 3 home runs, including 1 grand slam. Clayton Kershaw was great. He could have went deeper in that game if he needed to, but when you're up 7, 8, 9 runs, there's no reason to put him in there. So nice game from him. And Cubs are eliminated. Final score of that one was 11-1. Jose Quintana, the starter for the Cubs in that game, did not have a good outing. He only ended up going 2 innings, 6 runs, all of them earned. Not good at all. Throughout the entire series, Rizzo and Bryant were quiet. Rizzo went 0 for 4 last night. Bryant went 1 for 4 with an RBI. And Cubs offense never really showed up in the series, and their bullpen, I wouldn't say they underachieved. I think they actually were about par to their level of skill. It was easy to tell from the get-go that this bullpen wasn't going to be able to carry a team to the World Series, but they were good enough to keep a team in it if they could score some runs. But the Cubs just unable to score some runs. But if you're a Cubs fan, I don't know how you're upset and you're frustrated that you lost. But this is 3 straight years now you've made to the NLCS, and that's an incredible feat, and that's a really good run. And if you could tell me that my favorite team would make it to that round of any sports playoffs 3 years in a row and then roll the dice from there, I'll take that. And I know people aren't happy with Joe Madden. They don't like the way he manages games, especially in the playoffs. I understand that, but look at the best alternative, and there's no way that there's a better alternative better than Joe Madden. He gets you to this point. He's gotten you to the NLCS 3 straight years. And at that point, you roll the dice. And because of that, you should not even think about wanting to fire him, because he truly is good enough to get you here. And then you just got to hope that the pieces are in place for you to keep advancing. Obviously, they're going to try to tune up that bullpen in the offseason. I'm not sure what players they're going to lose, but I'm sure they're going to keep their core. They're Rizzo, Bryant, Schwarber, I don't see going anywhere. And you got Quintana now. You have to imagine that Lackey's done. He'll probably retire. He refused to talk to the media last night, which is kind of comical because that's kind of Lackey fashion. I have to imagine he will be retiring, and that's that. So Dodgers snap. I think it's been 35 years since they've made it to the World Series. So really, really cool story for them. 29 years since they've been to a World Series. So they snapped that, and they will face the winner of Yankees-Astros, which Game 6 of that series is tonight, with the Yankees having a chance to clinch at Houston. It's an 8 o'clock start. That can be seen on FS1. Yankees got down 2-0 in that series, and they went home and won 3 straight, and they took advantage of that home field advantage. A couple Houston players are quoted saying that it was so loud in Game 5 that it was hard to think, and it made an impact on the game, and that's saying a lot, and it just shows you that Yankee baseball is back, and this team is good enough to make it to the World Series. I think Houston's a better team, but now you're Houston. You would have liked to steal one of those 3 on the road. That way it's not 2 must-wins at home. So you're on the brink of elimination now, and you got to keep home serve and win the last 2. It'll be interesting to see how that one pans out tonight. Anybody who's not going to first-round matchups of high school football, I encourage you to tune in. It's going to be Luis Severino of the Yankees facing off against Justin Verlander. Verlander's been incredible in these playoffs, and he's the veteran you want on the mound in this game. And if you can get 5 or 6 quality innings out of him, if you can get 5, you'll take it. And you got to hope that your offense springs into action. But really, I mean, Stros have been hitting. There's no doubt about that. They didn't hit in their last game, losing 5-0, but before that, 4 runs, and then they got 1, and then they got 2 and 2. So you need a good pitching. You need to keep them under 3 runs if you're Verlander through 5 or 6 innings to give your team a chance in this. And it'll be interesting to see how that pans out tonight. Also tonight, we got some NBA action. Celtics are at the Sixers. Trailblazers with Caleb Swanigan are at the Pacers. I know there's a lot of people heading to Indianapolis for that game to see Biggie in action. You also have the Jazz against the T-Wolves, Warriors 0-1 against the Pelicans 0-1, and then your LA Lakers, coming off a loss last night in their first game, are back in action against Phoenix at Phoenix. We'll talk about Lonzo Ball and his debut last night and a little bit more about that in a little bit. I'm going to go back to the Caleb Swanigan in Indy. Biggie with a good first game of the year. He played quite a bit of quality minutes for the Trailblazers, and it was good to see him in action. I was kind of surprised by how many minutes he did get. He had a really nice three-pointer. He also had a nice assist to a cutting guard for a layup, and he continues the journey through the NBA. If anybody has nothing going on tonight, definitely would recommend heading down to Indianapolis. He played 18 minutes in game 1. I'm looking to see at his stats. I think he had 10 points, if I'm not mistaken. Here we go. 18 minutes, 1 for 1 for 3, 3 of 7 from the field, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal, 2 turnovers. So pretty good game for Biggie. 18 minutes is pretty strong. I assume that will get up to closer to 20 throughout the year. He's only a rookie, and it's crazy to see the difference between him as a rookie and Lonzo Ball as a rookie. I mean, those are good stats for Caleb Swanigan. He does it quietly. He just goes about his business, and because of that, he gets praised, and people don't mess with him. And then you look on the other side of it, and if you missed Lonzo Ball's debut last night for the Lakers, you did not miss much because he was pathetic. He looked horrible. So bad. But guess what? He's a rookie, so that he should get a pass, right? First game as a rookie, not playing very well, you should get a pass. But guess what, Lonzo Ball? You don't get a pass because the hype created by you, your family, and your father have given us higher expectations for your level of play than you deserve. And because of that, you're going to get punished for it. And that's exactly what happened in this game. He was matched up against Patrick Beverley, and Beverley, he was a bully. He was a bully to him. And you're going to see a lot of players do this because no one wants to see their pride get hurt. And you know if you let Lonzo Ball school you, it's going to be all over the place because of all of his platforms and all of his coverage on ESPN and Big Baller Brand and LeVar Ball's Twitter and whatever. So you're going to see guys turn up the intensity against this kid and trying to put him in his place, and Beverly did that last night. Lonzo was 0 for 2 shooting against Beverly when he was guarding him. Lonzo had 1 basket. It was a three-pointer, and that was 3 points. That's all he got. And Lakers didn't look very good. There's just too much hype around this team. They're not a good team, and they're not a good team yet. Lonzo Ball could become a really, really good player, and he might come out tonight and scorch the Suns, but when it's good, that's all we're going to hear about. But if that's all we're going to hear about when he's good, I want to be able to hear when he's bad. And they interviewed his father last night, and he was like, Lonzo Ball had a great game. And Stephen A., who I don't really care for Screaming A, but last night he kind of went after LeVar and was like, what are you talking about? How can you call that good? Your son was horrible. And it's true. He looks small. He looks frail. And a bigger, stronger Beverly got the best of him last night and roughed him up a little bit. So little growing pains there for Lonzo. It'll be interesting to see how he comes back tonight. LeVar tried to make the excuse about his ankle or whatnot, and that was silly. And then he also put out later, he said, who is Patrick Beverly? That's what LeVar Ball, Lonzo's father, said. He put out a statement saying, who is Patrick Beverly? Well, why don't you ask your son who Patrick Beverly is? Because I'm sure your son would say he's a really good defender who made me look like a child last night. And that's the truth. That's exactly what he looked like. So Lakers, unimpressive last night, I would say. Nothing to really write home about. They lose 108-92 against the Clippers. Last night also, Toronto Raptors beat the Bulls 117-100. OKC beat the Knicks 105-84. Those were your NBA games last night. I thought that OKC, they played a really bad Knicks team last night, but OKC is going to be fun to watch. You got Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, and Russell Westbrook. It's like an AAU team. You have to question if there's enough ball to go around for the three of them. And if you look at the box score, I would say yes. They are already kind of starting to figure out how to play with each other. You had Melo, 34 minutes, 22 points. You had Paul George, 39 minutes, 28 points. And then you had Westbrook, 33 minutes, 21 points. He also had 10 rebounds, 16 assists, triple-double. So if I'm the Thunder, I'm happy with this performance. Steven Adams is an above-average center who doesn't get enough credit. Roberson is a pretty good shooting guard, and he'll be good at dishing the ball, and he won't need as many touches and shots as other players will. He had 6 points last night, 2 assists, 6 rebounds, and the very important 0 turnovers. What's interesting about this team now is we saw the Thunder in the playoffs last year, and when Westbrook went to the bench, they were in deep trouble. No one could score on the floor. Well, now you have Melo, who starts, but he also is the go-to guy to come in when Westbrook's out and to score the basketball. And that's really interesting and fun to see, because if I'm Carmelo, that's awesome. I'm on a winning team, and the business pitch that I get from my coach is you're going to start, you're going to play with George and Westbrook, and you might not get as many touches as you want, but then when those two guys have to go out of the game for a spell, we'll bring you in also, and then it's like old times. Let it fly. Shoot at will. We want you to shoot. We want you to score. And for a shooter like Carmelo, who loves to get shots up, that's like the greatest thing ever. That's like Christmas, to be told just let it fly. Reminds me of the days when I used to play grade school basketball. Nothing better than your coach being like, hey, go in there and just let it fly. I live for that. I mean, that's good stuff. So Thunder beat up on a really bad Knicks team. Knicks are Kristaps Porzingis and company. He had 31 points, and then he has 0 help. The team's going to be horrible. It's going to be a race to see who gets the number 1 pick next year in the draft, and Knicks are going to be right in the mix for that. So that was interesting to watch. Also, if you look at last weekend NFL, kind of segueing into that before we get into unsportsmanlike conduct. Unsportsmanlike conducts are a little weird this week, and one of them, I guess, I got the rundown and we had our morning meeting at about 11:30. Each day we have our morning meeting, basically where we go over, I say we, it's me and the Brainy Bunch. We go over the topics that they found that they're excited about and they want to talk about today, and then I give them my spiel on what I want included, and then they make the audio. This is only 30 minutes before the show, so I mean they're still in the back right now getting things together for me. Not quite ready with the unsportsmanlike conduct because I just got a message on my board here on my screen that unsportsmanlike conduct, we're gonna have a 2 for today. It's unsportsmanlike conduct and a Brainy Bunch special report, so we'll get to that as soon as they're ready. I can only imagine what that's going to be. But anyways, in the morning meeting, one of our go-to topics of conversation is, did anybody find anything good for unsportsmanlike conduct? Does anybody need called out? We got 2 that are really strange. Really, I don't want to spoil it, but they both make absolutely no sense to me, but they both deserve to be called out on and I guess bring light to the entire event because I didn't even know it exists. So we'll get to that shortly for unsportsmanlike conduct. Also, to note, thank you everyone for their emails last week. Got quite a few back from students on campus on things they want to talk about. It's starting to get a little Purdue basketball fever, I can tell, amongst the students. They're loving the football season, but they're ready for Boiler Ball to come back. And so we'll go in after unsportsmanlike conduct. We'll talk about Big Ten Media Day, how Purdue lines up in the standings for Big Ten and what we should expect from this team. It's going to be a whole new identity without Caleb here, and I'll have my take on what I've seen from their games in Taipei and then their practices. We'll get into that in a couple seconds. But going back to what I was talking about with the NFL last weekend, you saw arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the league and one of the best all-time, Aaron Rodgers, go down with a broken collarbone. I didn't find it to be a dirty hit. He kind of landed awkward. I know it was late and it was a shove, but for all these Packer fans out there boo-hooing about how it was a dirty hit, I wouldn't call that a dirty hit. It was just an unfortunate situation. You never want to see somebody get hurt, especially somebody of Aaron Rodgers' talent. But with him getting hurt, it opens the NFC up and it opens the NFC North wide open. You got Detroit, Minnesota, and Chicago, who all now have big eyes like, whoa, we have a chance here, because it's hard to be Aaron Rodgers at home, and it's hard to be Aaron Rodgers in general. So when you got a guy like that, it's really hard to take them down, and that's why constantly year after year you're seeing the Packers representing the NFC North in the playoffs. Well, now you got the Vikings at 4-2, Packers 4-2, Lions 3-3, and Bears 2-4. Each one of these teams with an opportunity to make the playoffs, because Packers are going to be in a little bit of trouble. They're still a good team, but Aaron Rodgers makes them a great team. And without Aaron Rodgers, you got Brett Hundley in there. And I don't know if he's the answer long-term, as far as long-term as in the season. I don't know if he keeps the job the entire year. If Green Bay can stay in the hunt come early December, do they make a move to go for a retired Tony Romo? Do they make a move to bring in Colin Kaepernick? Do they make a trade to get somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo? It's hard to tell, because it's like a rental. You're renting this player for the rest of this year because everybody expects Rodgers to be back next year ready to go. So you don't want to pay or give away assets or pay top dollar for a good quarterback unless you know for sure you still have a chance to win the Super Bowl. And when you're bringing in this guy from retirement, free agency, or in a trade, you're bringing him in with a strong, optimistic approach that with this player, whoever it may be, we are Super Bowl bound. Because without that, you don't want to bring somebody in and miss the playoffs or get bounced in the first round or even in the second round, because it's not worth it for the assets you'd have to give up to get a player of the caliber of Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the better route would be a free agent like Kaepernick or retired Tony Romo. I don't see Romo wanting to leave that booth. And that brings me to Tony Romo. I don't know. I know it's impossible to please everyone. As a broadcaster, you're going to have people who don't like your work. You're going to have people who are annoyed by your voice, who are annoyed by your takes and the way you call a game. It's impossible to please everybody, no matter what you're doing in this world. You're going to always find somebody who's critiquing you. And, I mean, I know that firsthand just from what I've done with BTN and BTN Student U and broadcasting games. I mean, I'll call a random Wednesday night, like last year I called a random Wednesday night wrestling match, and to be honest, I didn't even think anybody was watching. And then Purdue Wrestling puts the highlights on their Facebook page, and if I purposely stay away from the comment section, but then, I mean, one of the Brainy Bunch members or Eric the roommate or somebody pulls it up and starts telling you some of the stuff you're hearing. It's like, okay, that's your opinion. You're obvious. Thanks for listening. I mean, but that happens. So obviously not everybody is happy with what Tony Romo's doing. Personally, I think he's fantastic. Like, fantastic as an analyst. He is letting you see the game through the quarterback's eyes. I never played a down of quarterback in my life, and most of us haven't. And to be able to him to tell us straight during live action on the fly by looking at a defense, this guy's going to bail, this guy's coming, look at this coverage, this is going to be open over the middle. That's incredible. That is so much fun. I don't know anybody who wouldn't like that. I don't get the casual fan who doesn't want to see that. If you're somebody who's new to the game or loves football but never played or doesn't know like the strategy behind it but likes the game, Tony Romo is your analysis, because he explains it so fast and so well that it's a lot of fun. It really is. That last drive last night, twice he was like, Derek Carr's back in the pocket looking to throw during and Tony Romo guys open over the middle, tight end open over the middle, look left. Like, that's awesome because Romo, you have to remember, he's seeing the big picture. He sees the entire field. He's up in the press box, and he can see everything. Whereas we, as the viewer, get to see the pocket and any wide receiver within 5 yards forward, right, and left of the pocket because the camera's on the quarterback with the ball. And when Derek Carr scrambles, we have no idea. Like, he throws that ball, we have no idea who he's throwing to on the live look. And, I mean, I don't know how many times you guys are rooting for your team and the opposing quarterback drops back to pass and he launches one deep and you have, like, it's literally a blind throw to our eye at home on the couch because we have no clue how open this receiver is that he's trying to throw to or how covered he is. So multiple times I'll find myself see the opposing quarterback chuck the ball like last week in the Purdue game, and I'm like, oh crap, immediately, just reaction, oh crap, because I'm thinking the worst that he must have a guy wide open going down the field. Well, with Romo doing what he's doing, he's giving you the opportunity in the split second to know what's going on in the play. And it's so different than conventional play-by-play and color commentary. It's because in school we are taught play-by-play tells you what happened, color tells you why it happened. So during the play, that's play-by-play time. That's why he's called the play-by-play guy. While the play's going on, he talks. And then after the play's over, color guy tells you why this happened, why whatever the play-by-play guy said happened. Well, this is so unconventional because it's mid-play, and Jim Nantz is by far, he's a legend. He is top of the business. He's the cream of the crop, and he's a pro's pro. And he is even figuring out Romo. And, I mean, these guys have worked together for half a year. And Romo, this is his first half year ever. Can you imagine how much better he's going to get? And he's already at this point, he's a natural. He is an absolute natural at the job. And when he was first hired, people were mad that he just got immediately inserted into the number one spot. But this is exactly why. I'm tuning in to the Thursday night game, and I'm turning on the volume because I want to hear him talk. I want to hear him talk about the play. Every once in a while, he gets a little too excited and a little too passionate, but that's the player coming out in him. He's not even half a season removed from playing in the NFL, and he still has that little giddiness and butterflies in his stomach excitement for when he sees quarterbacks and offenses do good things late in games. Like, he was screaming like he was a fan. I love that. It's transparent. It's natural, real emotion. He's not afraid to say when an official makes a bad call. You know, sometimes on the Sunday night call, I don't know why, but you'll have Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, and there'll be a call on the field that they don't agree with, and you can obviously tell they don't agree, and it's a blatantly bad call, and they refuse to call out the referee for it. They refuse to call out. They move on, or they ignore it, or they don't show the replay, and that's frustrating. When you get Tony Romo, you get real feedback, and you get raw emotion from him. And personally, I think that's extremely exciting to see, and it's nice to see for once. So last night that was really cool. But yeah, I think he could be a possible option to come out of retirement. I don't know why he would. If I was him, I wouldn't move anywhere. I know he likes it. He's getting used to it, and because of that, I don't see him moving. So NFC North wide open. NFC in general is now even more a grab bag to see who's going to rise to the top. It's going to be really exciting to see. If you look through the NFC standings, you got the Eagles at 5-1, sneaky team, really. I don't think anybody's giving them the credit they deserve. You got Redskins 3-2. We already said Vikings and Packers at 4-2. You got Panthers at 4-2. Saints and Falcons at 3-2. Big matchup this weekend between the Falcons and the Patriots. Rematch of the Super Bowl, and that's all we've heard about all week. But hopefully this is like the last of the last Super Bowl. Falcons blowing the lead talk. I'm kind of over it. I can't even imagine as a Falcon fan or player how over it you are. But I'd have to imagine this is the this is the final page of that chapter in NFL history. It'll be interesting to see what happens in that game Sunday night, NBC for that one. And then also in the NFC West, you have Rams at 4-2, Seahawks at 3-2. So I don't know if I'd call it mediocrity or just evenly balanced teams, but Eagles are top of the conference right now with Vikings, Panthers, Rams, and Packers all one game behind at 4-2, and then it just gets completely mumbo jumbo from there with 3-2 and 3-3 teams. So no one's out of it. The only team out of it right now, I'd say, are the Niners at 0-6 and the Giants right behind them at 1-5. It's going to take a lot for either one of those teams to make it into the playoffs. So there you have it. I mean, even if you look like overall, Eagles 5-1, that's top in the National Football League. That's an NFC team. And then you have Chiefs at 5-2. That's AFC. Then you have Vikings at 4-2, Steelers AFC 4-2, Patriots 4-2 AFC, Bills 3-2 AFC. It's a weird year. It's completely up in the air. There's no team really separating themselves yet. 6 games into the season. Also, last night in that game, we saw Marshawn Lynch get thrown out after pushing a ref and shoving him and kind of grabbing him, and who knows what he said to him. But to give Lynch not a pass, but to kind of explain why he was on the field, because he ran from the bench onto the field, and he didn't and that makes it sound like that this. What happened was Derek Carr got hit after the play. It was a dirty hit. And they all came to his defense because he just came off a broken back, and you need him to be good. Obviously, you saw what happened when he was out of the game for the Raiders. But he got a cheap shot, and his entire team came to his defense. And then you see Marshawn Lynch run onto the field and get in the mix of it as well. Well, let it be known that he didn't just go from the sideline to the field, run out there. I am 99% positive just by the replay of it, he was already jogging onto the field like he was coming into the game. And then when he saw the skirmish, he ran out there. So technically, yes, he came from the bench to the field, and that's probably in shoving the ref. He's going to get a fine. He might even get a game suspension for it. But it makes it sound like that he was just from the sidelines into the game trying to get in the brawl. No, I think that he was actually just coming into the game, and then he saw what was happening, and then he ran out a little faster to get involved. So I don't think. I mean, the Raiders, they all put it off after the game. Derek Carr didn't care. He applauded Lynch for having his back, and he called him a good guy. And I think that we're quick to try to make him out to be a villain, or just because he's so quiet with the media and so standoffish. But I don't think he's definitely a different dude, and he's unconventional to say the least. But I wouldn't call him a thug or a dirty player or just looking for limelight or attention. No, he's none of that. But he did touch a referee, and that is wrong. And he did come out off the bench technically, so that's wrong too. So he's going to get punished for it. So that was the last bit of tidbit from the game last night I want to get into. Let's transition here. It's 12:40. I know some students just got out of class at 12:30, and since they're on their walk home, let's give them a little something to listen to. Let's just transition right into unsportsmanlike conduct.
And now, an unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15, unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's a horrible call!
Like I said earlier, we had one of these unsportsmanlike conducts is a late edition Brainy Bunch special report. Thanks to the guys in the back for getting the audio into me throughout the show here. But first, we're going to talk about this event that's going on in the North Pole. It's freezing cold. Obviously, it's the North Pole, and there's this. It's called the North Pole Marathon. It's 26 miles. It's your typical marathon length of a run, and these runners are running it in freezing cold temperatures. What a stupid idea. They have tents set up throughout the race for people to stop to get hot chocolate and warm drinks and candy. Not candy. Candy. That'd be kind of insane to be eating candy during a marathon. Like power bars or energy bars, and then also warm blankets and warming heaters to get you warmed back up. Can you imagine running in close to 0 negative degree temperatures outside? That just sounds, first off, completely insanely dangerous and unhealthy and miserable. I don't like to run when it's 75 and sunny out. I'm for sure not going to run when it's 2 degrees. Unsportsmanlike conduct, I always say if you don't like sports, that's fine. It's not for everybody. But if like you don't watch the Super Bowl or you don't care, like if you don't care at all, or if you just watch for the commercials, well, that's your choice, and I get that. I don't get it. I like to like call people, or like I label people like that just a different breed. They're just a different breed from me, and that's fine. I'm sure they have stuff that they're really passionate about that I don't like, and I'm probably a different breed from them from that. But I do, and like I'm gonna put these runners in the same category. Like if you're somebody who's going to the North Pole to run this marathon, I think you're like a different breed of person for me. I can't. You could probably pay me. I'd do it for $1 million. Or I'd try. I probably would die trying, no matter how much money you put in front of me. But I'm sure there's a value that would get me out there and running. But I've just incredible, amazing. But unsportsmanlike conduct to you for being crazy. Go run in Miami. Go run like the New York City Marathon or the Boston Marathon or something. I don't know how. I don't find that fun at all. Like if you. First off, I have to imagine all these times are slower than these other places you run marathons. And when you go home and you tell people, yeah, I ran in the North Pole Marathon, like, is that something, first off, to be proud about? I mean, I guess if you completed it, you should be proud. But, like, is that something that's going to impress other people? I don't think that it would impress me. I think I'd question a lot about this person who's telling me this information. Unsportsmanlike conduct to you North Pole Marathon runners, but, hey, run hard, stay warm, stay healthy. But unsportsmanlike conduct to you. Number 2, and this is kind of funny. This is a competition in Maine. It's called the North American Wife Carrying Competition. I'm not making this up, guys. I don't know if I could make this up. There's a championship tournament bracket with 44 competing couples where the entire premise of the race is the husband has to carry the wife. And it's through an obstacle course that is 278 yards long. You can't put your wife down, or else you're eliminated. And you gotta hurdle logs, run through sand traps and mud puddles. And the winner gets beer, pounds of beer, equivalent to how much the woman weighs. The wife that you're carrying. So if your wife weighs 100 pounds, you get 100 pounds weight of beer, and you also get 5 times her weight in cash. I'm no mathematician, and I'm not going to try to be one on this show, but I guess there has to be I guess the monetary value is if your wife's heavier and you still win, you get more money and more beer. So that's kind of funny, and I get it, but who in the world is competing in this? 44 couples, first off, 44 people, see math, 88 people know about this competition, because I think husband, wife, 44 times 2. Stay with me, everybody. 88 people know about this competition, and you're going to compete in it? I find this hard to believe, and I did a lot of research this morning because it really did get my goat. And I looked around the World Wide Web, and this is a real thing, and this happens. So I don't have a wife. I don't have a girlfriend, but I can't imagine that this would ever come up in conversation with my significant other that, hey, hun, do you want to go compete in the wife carrying championship? Like, this is, once again, different breed of people. I have to imagine these are 88 very different people. Unsportsmanlike conduct to you guys for knowing about the competition, competing, and I'm giving the unsportsmanlike conduct to everybody but that one guy and gal who won this competition, because good on you. Way to find something you're good at. In life, that's what we're all trying to do, right? Find something that you're good at and compete in it. Well, you found your thing and you won. Now, for all you other losers in this competition, I got nothing for you but an unsportsmanlike conduct, because that's embarrassing. You don't compete if you're not going to win. You got to be guaranteed the W if you're going to enter into this, because unlike the first one where I could have somewhat respect for you because you ran a marathon, even though you might not have won in the North Pole, if you come up to me and tell me, yeah, my wife and I, we finished 16th place in the wife carrying championship, I'm walking away. I'm not even going to, I probably wouldn't even say a word to you. I'd probably just walk away, because that makes me uncomfortable. It really does. There's unsportsmanlike conduct number 2. And last but not least, let's see what we got here, Brainy Bunch. It's a special report.
It's time
for another Brainy Bunch special report. The mission of the Brainy Bunch is not to break news, but to bunch it.
Here's the story.
All right. And with that, we have some audio here that must be played. This comes to us. I see where this is going. Oh, man. All right. The Brainy Bunch special report. They're reporters first, people second. Fast news, but wrong news is still fast. And this is what they found last week on the show. If you missed it, here's a recap of my starting 5 picks. Purdue over Nebraska. Yeah, of course I'm taking Purdue over Nebraska. I'm not going to pick against Purdue. 7th-ranked Nebraska. Purdue takes them on the road, coming off of a huge win against Minnesota. And all right. I can only imagine how many of you guys listen to that, and we're probably screaming at your radio dial or your phone or the computer if you're watching on YouTube. Check out the podcast on YouTube, by the way. Next PT Wins. That's on YouTube. You can also catch me on SoundCloud if you miss any part of the show. But see, one downside of doing this show alone is I have nobody to keep an eye on me. The guys in the back are so busy they don't even know I'm here pretty much because their noses are in their computers working on stuff for the show, and I respect that. But because of that, when I get off on a tangent that makes absolutely no sense, I got no one to get me off of it and no one to correct me. Purdue didn't play Nebraska last week. Purdue played Wisconsin. Purdue volleyball played Nebraska, and I'm guessing that's where my head was at when I said Nebraska like 14 times in a row during the picks. Nebraska's not ranked 7th in the country in football. Wisconsin is. Purdue played Wisconsin, not Nebraska. Yeah, I'll take blame for this. And shout out to, let's see here, Mike and Hunter Tucky. Appreciate the Brainy Bunch report, and thanks for listening in. One of our off-site Brainy Bunch listeners, and I get it. I messed up. Appreciate your support of the show and your unending faithfulness to the program. Hopefully this didn't turn away any ratings. Be interesting to see the numbers after the show to see how many viewers and listeners I lost, because that is a big mistake, and I got no explanation for it. I'm not going to make excuses. We're just going to move on, but that is the final unsportsmanlike conduct. It goes to myself. This is awkward. I don't really know how I feel about this, but like I said, the reporters first, people second. Thank you, Brainy Bunch. Thank you, Mike and Hunter Tucky, for the heads up.
The Brainy Bunch. We don't break news. We bunch it.
So there is your unsportsmanlike conduct for the week.
And now, an unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15, unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's a horrible call!
All right, let's move right into my starting 5 picks for this weekend in college football. I didn't really like the slate of games last weekend. I think they're a lot better this weekend. So let's take a look and see what we got. First up, I'm taking USC on the road to beat Notre Dame. This is a top 15 matchup between two quality teams. Notre Dame kind of got off to a slow start in the year, and then they really turned it on of late. USC has had their road bumps along the way. I still think Sam Darnold is a great quarterback. He's getting some bad flack, right now for not taking care of the football. I think he corrects that mistake in a shootout. I'm going to take USC over Notre Dame. Another good matchup. This one in the Big Ten. You got Michigan traveling to Penn State. I'm on record here saying Penn State's the best team in the Big Ten. I'm sticking with that. You get in Happy Valley. That place is crazy, especially during a night game. I don't think Michigan has enough offense to stay with Penn State. Their defense will keep them into the game, into the third quarter. But I think by the end of the third and the fourth quarter, Penn State breaks through and gets the W over Michigan. So Penn State over Michigan. Next, we got Northwestern against Iowa, two teams in Purdue's conference. Boilers will keep a close eye on this game because two opponents coming up in the schedule are Northwestern and Iowa. I'm going to take Northwestern in the upset to beat Iowa. That's my upset special for the week, Northwestern over Iowa. Also, we have Florida State against Louisville. Louisville, another team who, Purdue played them close at the beginning of the year, but they've had their bumps along the way as well. Hasn't been exactly easy skating as we thought it would be for them. I'm going to take Florida State also to beat Louisville, so go Seminoles. They take down Lamar Jackson and the Louisville Cardinals. And my last pick of the week, it's Boise State against Wyoming. Saw it on the schedule. Don't know why I chose it, but I have a hunch Boise State gets the win. So I'm taking Boise State to beat the Cowboys of Wyoming in that one. Those are my 5-star picks of the week. Keep an eye on those games. I'm not doing any spreads. I'm doing all 5 games straight up. So I don't really care what the spread is on these. I just got a feeling that these 5 teams are going to win. I need a 5-0 week. I think I'm going to get it this weekend. Boilermakers travel to Rutgers to take on the Scarlet Knights this weekend in football. They are favorites in that game. Hopefully they can get back on track before coming home to Nebraska. That game was announced. It's going to be a 7:30 start time next weekend. Boilermaker students, Halloween weekend, under the lights. Purdue football. It's going to be really, really fun. It's going to be a whole day of fun if you're a Purdue Athletic fan. You got wrestling out on Ross-Ade's patio at about 3:30, and then just announced last night, men's basketball holding a open scrimmage against Indiana State. So it could be your first chance to see the Boilermakers in action in Mackey Arena this year. The men's basketball team takes on Indiana State. All proceeds to that game going towards hurricane relief. So let's pack Mackey. Let's sell it out and have an opportunity to raise some money for a good cause. Really exciting entire day of Purdue athletics, and then you had the nightcap of the Boilermakers against the Cornhuskers. And yeah, they were actually going to play Nebraska in that game. It's not me just believing they are. That truly is on the schedule. So looking forward to that next weekend, but this weekend need to get back on track. It's a game we need to win. We should win. It's important to win the games you're supposed to win if you want to have that chance to go bowling in January. I said I'd mention Purdue basketball. Let's just segue right into that since they are having that open scrimmage next weekend. They went to the Big Ten Media Day. Press has picked them 21st in the coaches poll, so they're going to start the year ranked 21. And also, they were picked to finish second in the Big Ten behind Michigan State. Michigan State, preseason ranked number 2 in the country, going to be the biggest opponent on the schedule for the Boilermakers. You also saw Minnesota around 15th in the poll, so they're going to be good. It'll be interesting to see whether teams rise to the top. But Michigan State's definitely the team to beat. That's because you bring back a guy like Miles Bridges, who I thought should have went pro, but he decided to come back for his sophomore year. He's going to be what Caleb Swanigan was for us last year, an All-American, possibly Player of the Year, and probably Big Ten Player of the Year. So it'll be exciting to see how the Boilermakers shape up there. I think 21's a little low, but I'm biased. You got teams like Minnesota ahead of you, and I don't see the hype behind that team quite yet. I know they're better, but I don't think they're that good. Also, I saw this ranking by Barstool Sports. If you guys don't follow Barstool Sports, you should. They're a lot of fun, really funny site, and I know they're sweeping the nation. College campuses, everybody's got Saturdays are for the boys, T-shirts and flags, and their videos are normally really funny. But I think Barstool Sports is a great fan avenue for fans of sports and comedy to go to. I think that they know their sports, but then they kind of get outside of their comfort zone when they do stuff like ranking the top 100 college basketball coaches. I don't know how much expertise and research and knowledge they put into this list. And rankings in general are normally stupid, and I get that. People rank things 1 to whatever just so we could have debate. And if you look at it, the point of ranking things is to muck up and scrape up some debate and get you talking, and that's exactly what we're doing. But they had Matt Painter as far as top college coaches. They had him ranked 36th, and then for their little explanation, they said he'll slow down the Boiler Balls offense, and they'll slow down the tempo, and he's a good coach, and you know what you're going to get out of him. I don't agree with any of that, to be honest with you. We were near the top in the Big Ten since Coach Painter's been our coach in tempo. We've been top 5 every year since he's been around, and in the last 3 years, we've been at 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. So I wouldn't call us slow. I don't know. I guess people see Isaac Haas and people see our style of play and our the guys on the floor, and they automatically assume that we're going to – I mean, we play defense. Maybe that's part of it, and they just think we're going to grind out games. But we like to run. We like to shoot, and you're going to see a lot of that this year. If you like the 3-ball, watch Boiler Ball because they're going to put it up in the air often. So Thought that ranking was kind of weird, but preseason ranked number 1, second in the Big Ten, and then that by Barstool Sports. I don't know how much you really look into that. I guess not many of us really care, but I just thought it was different. Also, last bit of, I'm sure we've all seen the Gordon Hayward injury. If you wanted to see it, you have. If you've been avoiding it, then you've done that. But anybody who wanted to see it could. He broke his ankle. First game of the year for the Celtics. It was really, really sick, really gruesome injury. It was a clean break, obviously, because his foot was like facing the wrong way. Looked painful. He's going to be out for the year. Tough loss, first game. Feel for the kid. If you look at one of the camera shots, it's like from behind him, and you can just see the bench of the opposing team of the Cavaliers, and the way they all react and the fans there react, it makes your stomach hurt. So you got to feel for Gordon Hayward. Hopefully he has a quick, speedy recovery there. Man, that hour flew by here on Next Point Wins. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this week. Catch the Boilers in action tomorrow against Rutgers on the road. We also have Big Ten volleyball tonight in Holloway Gymnasium. Purdue volleyball taking on number 1 ranked Penn State. Boilermakers haven't beat a number 1 team at home ever. They've never beat a number 1 team in the regular season. They upset the Gators back in 2009. That was a number 1 team, and that was in the NCAA tournament. So a chance to see history tonight. Get your tickets. I think it's close to sold out in Holloway Gymnasium tonight. Purdue against Penn State, number 1 team in the country. You can also catch that game. I think it's on BTN. I'm going to check right now for anybody who's not traveling to high school football. Good luck to high school football teams in the state of Indiana as they begin tournament play tonight. A lot of good matchups, and it'll be exciting to see how that all shakes out. Special shout out to the Lures Knights. Get the W tonight. It's time to go ring chasing. Looking forward to listening to that game. You can catch the Purdue volleyball game against Penn State tonight on BTN. That starts at 8 p.m. So if you can't make it out, or you can't make it to West Lafayette and you're at home looking for something to watch, I recommend baseball, and I definitely recommend watching this volleyball match. Nothing better than good college volleyball, truly. It's fast-paced, up-tempo, a lot of fun, and this Boilermaker team is a lot of fun to watch. Now, if you can't catch the match on Friday night, I challenge you all to tune in on Saturday, because I'll be on the call for Purdue volleyball as we take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. So you got football at noon against Rutgers, and then Saturday night, 7 p.m. in West Lafayette, Indiana, Holloway Gymnasium. It's Purdue volleyball taking on Rutgers, hopefully coming off of an upset over number 1 Penn State, making history on Friday night. I'll be on the call, btn2go.com, BTN Student U. Excited to get back on the call. I'll be on play-by-play. My color guy will be Josh Hill. He's a former college player for Florida and coach for Florida. Knows his stuff, knows his volleyball. We're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow night. So little shameless plug there. Tune in and catch me. If you can't catch the match, look for Facebook and Twitter, Purdue Volleyball, and also I normally share them as well. We'll put the highlights of the call so you'll be able to hear some audio from the game as I call play-by-play. If you just love hearing this voice and you want to continue it over the weekend, you can check it out there and also help get some views on the video. So that'll be awesome. Looking forward to that. That's all the time we have today. Sorry we couldn't get to any of your phone calls. We will. I'm gonna make sure this weekend or early next week I get down here and check out the phone line. I saw a couple like hold signals, and during the unsportsmanlike conduct I was trying to kind of fiddle with it, and I don't really know what's going on. So we'll get that squared away and figured out for next week, hopefully. Thank you for everybody for your support of the show. Have a great weekend. Boiler up, hammer down. Let's go Knights. Win in the trenches tonight. Shout out to 5-5. Get after it. This has been Next Point Wins. Good morning, Purdue University. Welcome to Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Geely. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today on this Friday. So I appreciate that. Let's get into my starting 5 picks for the weekend in college football. I'm taking Auburn over LSU.
Good again. Still hit by Key. That's the ball game.
I'm also going to take Texas over Oklahoma. There's a 9-point spread on that game. I think Texas loses within 9 or...
Texas up a point on 12th-ranked Oklahoma. Here's Mayfield, Heisman hopeful, wide open, incomplete. Mark Andrews, Baker Mayfield does it. 59 yards to Andrews. Kohler, and he dialed one up. He said, let's look for the big target, streaking down the outside. Mark Andrews, 59-yard touchdown.
I'm also going to take West Virginia over Texas Tech.
Now Greer has another chance in the end zone. A touchdown for Sills, his third of the day, as the nation's best finds Pater once again.
I'm going to take UT San Antonio, that's right, UTSA, over North Texas.
Here comes pressure. Vine got hit, throws it in, it's caught. Bussey Jr. has space to the 10-yard line, and he's going to take it into the end zone. North Texas scores with 10 seconds left to take the lead.
I'm not going to pick against Purdue.